This little girl discovered something terrifying. A cat fell into the water tank and struggled. However, she pulled down the curtain and pretended not to see anything. Only when the cat drowned did she tell her father. Her father was shocked by the cat's death. He immediately went to get the cat. Emma appeared to be in pain on the outside, but in fact, she was happy about this indirect murder. She was the type of person who was born to be evil, but Emma usually hid her evil side very well. A bee flew into the classroom. The classmates were all scared and ran away, but Emma covered the bee with a cup. Then she stuffed a piece of paper into the mouth of the cup and released the bee out the window. Her friends and teachers were all very surprised. Whether it was her friends, teachers, or adults, they all thought she had excellent qualities. But when Emma found out that Kitty bought a new watch, she had a fierce look in her eyes. Then, Emma pretended to accidentally trip Kitty, who was running, and she fell to the ground. Emma apologized and pulled Kitty's hand. Emma gently helped her friend, but no one knew that when the two of them met, she had taken Kitty's watch. It was easy to see that Emma was both friendly and mean. Moreover, she was very jealous. The teacher looked at Emma thoughtfully. Emma immediately became nervous. After Emma returned home, she sat in front of the mirror and practiced smiling. Emma had such excellent acting skills that even her father, David, was fooled by her. David felt that Emma was a thoughtful little girl. The school even rated Emma as an excellent example. They gave her an award every year. This year, at the award ceremony for the best students, Emma should have won the award. But Alice called Milo's name. The smile on Emma's face disappeared. Seeing Milo go up to the stage to receive the award, Emma was very angry. Emma felt that Milo was cowardly and stupid, so he did not deserve this honorable award. So a vicious plan began to form. David noticed that Emma was unusual. He thought that she was disappointed because she did not receive the award, so he quickly comforted her. But Emma sincerely said that Milo was her friend. She was happy that he received the award. This made David immediately feel that he was narrow-minded. Emma was indeed a generous and innocent girl. But then Emma invited Milo to play hide and seek. But because they were too busy playing, the two children went far away from the crowd and into the rainforest. Milo wanted to go back, but Emma led him deep into the forest. There was a cliff that connected to the sea. Milo was a little scared, but Emma kept staring at Milo. Emma's eyes were cold, as if she was looking at a dead person. After discovering that Milo was nowhere to be found, everyone rushed to look for him. Emma stood by and watched coldly. A few hours later, everyone finally found Milo on the beach, but he had long since died. Milo's mother cried out in pain. Seeing this, Emma not only ignored him, but also pretended to be scared and snuggled into David's arms. But when Emma got home, she happily swung her legs. This made her father feel very strange. Seeing that her father's expression was a bit strange, Emma calmly said that Milo was dead and that living people didn't need to waste their feelings on the dead. Even though it was true, Emma's coldness still surprised David. But in the end, David thought to himself that perhaps children do not understand and remember painful things as well as adults. Later, because of his busy work, David hired a nanny named Chloe to take care of Emma. He told her to come to work starting tomorrow. That day, David talked to his sister Angela. Angela is a psychiatrist. Angela thought that Emma was just in shock. While the two of them were talking, Chloe arrived. David led her into the house and introduced her to the house. At this time, Emma was hiding behind the door and using a vicious look to evaluate Chloe. Could be seen that Emma hated Chloe very much. But when Emma was in front of David, she still obediently welcomed the new nanny. But when David just fell, Emma watched Chloe's every move. Emma discovered that Chloe had gone into David's bedroom without permission. When Chloe learned that David was young, had no wife, and was also a highly paid architect, she thought that maybe she could be the mistress of this house. So Chloe took away David's insomnia and anxiety medication, hoping that he would be emotionally disturbed. That way she would have a chance to comfort him. Then she would find a way to seduce him. But Emma saw this scene. But Emma didn't tell David, but used this excuse to threaten Chloe. Chloe called Emma a little devil. Emma didn't like this harsh way of calling her, but she kept quiet because Chloe's talkative mouth couldn't do anything to Emma. There was no need to retaliate now. The next day was Milo's mass. Everyone was heartbroken, but Emma was calm and didn't understand why they were heartbroken. This was the first time Emma realized that she and the others were different, but she didn't pay much attention. Emotions are created through expression and demeanor. If she needed to express her grief at a funeral, she could have completely pretended, but Milo's mother asked for the medal he received. That was the only time he received an honorary award, so his mother wanted to put the medal in his coffin. But strangely, after Milo died, the medal disappeared. David immediately expressed his sympathy for the poor boy. When Emma saw that, she also tried to cry. David thought Emma was sad because she lost her friend. David didn't know that Emma was secretly happy that Milo was dead, and no one would know what she did. But to prevent any unexpected events, she still hid the medal under the bed. But when David picked up the fallen bear, he almost discovered the medal. Emma's smile was full of pretense. When she needed to pretend, she smiled. At other times, she was as cold as ice. David gradually noticed Emma's strangeness, so he looked through the photos of the award kiss. As a result, David discovered that Emma was always looking at Milo's medal. Emma's eyes were full of desire to possess. This surprised David. The next morning, the teacher brought a lawyer to his house. Milo couldn't swim and was afraid of heights, so he couldn't go to the cliff by himself. On the day Milo had an accident, a friend saw him playing with Emma. Therefore, the teacher suspected that Milo did not fall off the cliff. So the teacher wanted to invite Emma to cooperate in investigating this matter. Emma stood behind the door and heard this. Her eyes immediately turned vicious. Then she turned and left. Emma broke the glass bottle and lay on it. Chloe was stunned after witnessing everything. The teacher was also embarrassed, so she quickly said goodbye. But when David treated Emma's wound, he still asked her about Milo. Emma was certain that she had not played with Milo that day and had never been to the cliff, but Emma's answer was too decisive. David intended to trick Emma into thinking that Alice had seen Emma go over there. Emma said that Alice lied because she didn't like Emma. Maybe it was because Emma was a child without a mother. The last sentence dispelled David's doubts. Emma's mother died from a difficult birth, so Emma was always sensitive. It was reasonable for her classmates and teachers to have some prejudice against Emma. Thinking of this, David felt very heartbroken. He felt that he shouldn't doubt his daughter. His daughter was only 9 years old. How could his daughter be involved in such a big matter? Chloe had seen through Emma's plan that day, but she didn't say anything because Chloe wanted to get close to David, so Chloe couldn't offend Emma. Chloe always praised Emma in front of David. At this moment, they saw the teacher's car stop at Milo's house. Emma was immediately a little nervous, but Chloe happily told Emma that Alice suspected that Milo was murdered, so she was trying to find relevant evidence. Chloe believed that the police would soon open an investigation. At that time, Emma would definitely be called in for questioning first. Chloe told Emma to quickly think of a way to cover it up. Even though Emma was evil, a child's knowledge was limited after all. The worst outcome Emma could think of was being scolded by her father and criticized by her teachers. But Chloe told Emma that there was a prison in this world that specialized in locking up children. Inside, there was a 220-volt electric chair used to punish naughty children. Chloe's threat made Emma believe it was true. Emma thought about Alice wanting to put her in jail, and she felt hatred for Alice. Then Emma secretly put the wasp nest under the porch into the back seat of Alice's car. When Alice left Milo's house, she was unprepared and prepared to drive away. A wasp flew out of the car. It even landed on Alice's face. Alice was scared and waved it away with her hand. The car suddenly veered off the road and crashed. Alice died on the spot. Emma didn't know what had happened. Emma happily returned home because she had solved the problem. But Emma didn't know that when she left the house, Chloe had searched her room and discovered the medal hidden under the bed. In order to expose Emma's crime, Chloe hung the medal on David's bedside lamp. That way, David would be able to see it as soon as he entered the bedroom. But coincidentally, when David just came back, Emma happily ran to greet her father. When Emma entered, she saw the medal. Emma was so scared that she trembled, but she still quietly walked over. At this time, David had his back turned, so Emma gently took the medal, then hid it behind her and prepared to leave. But David suddenly turned his head and asked Emma what she was doing. But Emma said nothing. Under David's stern gaze, Emma could only take out the medal, but Emma firmly said she didn't know how this thing appeared in the house. Chloe immediately said that while cleaning, she found it under Emma's bed. Emma glared at Chloe because she had pushed Emma to her death. But when Emma turned her head to look at her father, she obediently said that the medal was indeed Milo's. At that time, Emma only admired Milo for winning the award, so Milo lent it to Emma to wear for a while. But not long after, Milo accidentally fell off the cliff. Emma said that she was so scared that she took the medal home and hid it. David's eyes were deep. Obviously, he didn't believe Emma. But after all, she was his biological daughter, so he could only tell Milo's mother what Emma said and return the medal. Emma apologized to Milo's mother with a sincere expression. Milo's mother saw Emma's frightened expression and thought that Emma was scared by Milo's story and did not dare to take out the medal. Now that the medal had been returned, Milo's mother was very grateful to Emma. But not long after, David learned that Alice had died in the accident. Moreover, he also discovered that the beehive on the porch had disappeared. David was very surprised. Too many coincidences made David unable to help but believe that Emma was definitely not an innocent child. So David made an appointment with a psychologist to check if Emma had any mental illness. Otherwise, how could Emma dare to do such cruel things? Emma agreed, but her hands were clenched. After Emma met the psychologist, she started acting again. When talking about Milo's death, Emma clenched her hands and her face looked sad, with a bit of confusion and bewilderment. This was completely consistent with the awareness and curiosity about nature at this age. When talking about happy things, Emma talked freely and looked innocent and lovely. Emma acts like the way adults like children. The psychologist did not find any loopholes. The doctor concluded that Emma was definitely definitely a normal child. After getting the diagnosis from the psychiatrist, David's hanging heart was finally put down. After the two happily returned home, they saw Chloe wearing revealing clothes lying on the chair like the mistress of the house. When David saw this, not only did he not say anything, he also secretly looked at her body. This made Emma realize the danger approaching, so Emma told Chloe to get out of their house. But Chloe proudly challenged her and said that this house was not owned by Emma. An adult like David had the taste of a man and was still single, so she could not miss it. When the two argued for a while, it was clear that Chloe had great ambitions. He was preparing to step by step enter this house, but Chloe had already underestimated Emma. That night, David had something to do outside. Chloe also did not see Emma anywhere. If Emma went missing, David would be angry. From then on, Chloe's dream of getting rich would also end, so Chloe nervously searched for Emma everywhere. Emma found that David's office was lit. Chloe thought Emma was hiding inside, so she went in, but the door suddenly closed. Chloe heard a noise and stood up to check. Unexpectedly, there was a fire coming from the door, and it quickly flared up. Only then did Chloe discover that the ground was full of gasoline barrels. The fire immediately spread throughout the room. Chloe was scared and begged, but Emma stood outside and watched coldly. Emma looked at Chloe being engulfed in flames with disdain. There were many women who had their eyes on David, but so far, none of them had succeeded because they had failed before the evil Emma. By the time David returned, Chloe had already been burned to death. Emma told the police that Chloe had sneaked into David's office to smoke, which led to the fire. David ran to see Emma worriedly, but she wasn't afraid at all. Instead, she comforted him. David saw the excitement of a pervert in Emma's eyes. Even though he didn't want to make malicious speculations about his daughter, everything made him suspicious. Milo's medal, the beehive in Alice's car, and the fire at home, all of it was related to Emma. So that night, David woke up Emma, who was pretending to be asleep. He finally told her what he had been thinking for a long time. David asked Emma if she had killed Milo. Emma could feel her father's anger and irritation. She immediately sat up and then admitted in fear. Emma said that she had only pushed him lightly and he fell down. He kept saying that he couldn't swim. She didn't believe it because he always lied. Not long after, he drowned. Emma apologized and promised not to do it again. Emma used her innocent and pitiful eyes to arouse her father's pity. From then on, Dad wouldn't punish or scold. But David suddenly remembered the nanny before. She was also accidentally seriously injured when she was with Emma. But Emma calmly said that she shouldn't have grabbed Emma's arm. Emma just kicked her and she rolled down the stairs. Emma didn't do anything wrong. She was an adult. She should have known how to protect herself. David angrily asked Emma, did she know what she had done? Emma was only 9 years old, but had already harmed so many people. David, as a father, didn't notice anything. Emma cried and said that everyone she had hurt deserved to die. Chloe said that Emma had killed Milo. Sooner or later, everyone would know about this. Chloe said she would definitely be Emma's stepmother. Emma said she didn't want a stepmother. Emma said Chloe secretly changed her father's medicine. Chloe had been lying to David all along, but he hadn't done anything. Emma was very calm, unlike a 9-year-old. This made David feel very scared, so he quickly searched online. David discovered that Emma's situation was very similar to that of a sociopath. They always disregarded life and had no feelings in their blood. The initial symptoms were cold and cruel, without any empathy. In the later stages, they would kill people when they were unhappy. They wouldn't even spare their own family. But most of the time, Emma acted sweet and lovely, so David really couldn't think she was a crazy murderer. So David took Emma to a small house by the lake. He hoped that after she stayed away from the crowd, the progression of the symptoms would be slowed down. As a result, David received another call from the police saying that Alice and Chloe's nature was murder. Moreover, they had found relevant evidence. They were just waiting for the forensic stage to know for sure who it was. David immediately felt hopeless. He even had nightmares every night. He dreamed of the cat's body floating in the water and not decomposing. David dreamed of Milo with a bloody face coming to take his life. That night, David felt extremely guilty. He wanted to use medical methods to save Emma, but after searching for other cases, he discovered that this disease was incurable. Moreover, it was getting more and more out of control. David didn't know when Emma appeared behind him. David was startled and quickly closed the computer. After that, the two talked for a while. That night, Emma secretly locked David's room door. Then she turned on the gas, intending to poison her father. But David woke up. When he smelled a strange smell, he immediately opened the window. Then he ran to the kitchen. When he got there, he saw that all the gas switches were turned on. David painfully realized that what he had seen online was gradually happening. Even Emma dared to kill her father. Moreover, Emma was standing nearby. Emma's face was filled with coldness. David walked out of the kitchen in pain. David asked Emma why she did that to her biological father, but Emma didn't say anything. David said that he was Emma's only relative, but Emma said that if David died, she could go find Angela. At least Angela still felt that Emma was quite good. David was filled with shock. This kind of child was indeed inherently evil. She couldn't tell good from evil in her entire entire life. Her father's love for her was just a mixture of emotions and actions. Angela reached out to Emma. The little girl naturally held his hand without any fear. Because in Emma's heart, adults are only big and stupid. David has always been bound by the love between father and daughter, so he cannot do anything cruel. But after an internal struggle, David made up his mind to deal with Emma, because what Emma did would be exposed soon. At that time, she would have to spend the rest of her life in a mental hospital or prison. Compared to these punishments, David would rather use his own method to let Emma go more comfortably. So he poured out a bottle of sleeping pills, crushed them, and put them in milk. Then Angela brought them into Emma's room. When David went out, Emma had already gone up to change 2 glasses of milk. Therefore, the one who slept soundly at night was David. Emma suddenly opened her eyes, searched for David's gun, then put the gun in his hand, intending to create a fake scene. David reached out to grab the gun, but Emma took his phone and called the police. The girl was so scared that she ran away. Emma said her father wanted her to die. At 3 days, Emma had confirmed that there was a neighbor next door. In the quiet night, the neighbor must have heard the screams, so Emma followed the prearranged plan. She hid in the bathroom and locked it, waiting for David to come. But in order to let David's emotions explode, Emma had to stay silent. Sure enough, a moment later, David roared and lost control. David broke the door and entered. Emma was scared and held her head, crying, but David was too familiar with Emma's performance. David endured the pain and raised his gun, preparing to shoot. But at this moment, the neighbor ran over. Emma saw this and immediately called for help. Emma's face was covered in tears. The girl screamed in fear like a poor child who had just suffered the fear and pain of losing a loved one. But in reality, no feelings can hurt Emma, because she only uses her brain to analyze the pros and cons. Aeneas, she doesn't care about anyone or anything. In the end, with the confirmation of the neighbors, Emma was identified as the victim. Angela became Emma's sole guardian. Because David had an anxiety disorder, Angela thought that after Chloe changed his medication, he had a mental problem and had intentions to deal with Emma. After all, normal people wouldn't suspect a poor girl who lost both her parents. Weakness is Emma's best disguise. The movie ends here. Thank you for watching. Goodbye, and see you again.